One of the biggest questions that I get from clients when they are looking at different neighborhoods or looking at properties that we're sending out to them is, what type of tenants will be living in this property? What's the demographic? What do they look like, on paper and in performance? So in this video, I want to talk to you about what kind of tenant you can expect in some of the different kinds of properties we covered in our last video. All right, so let's start with the big and boring properties. As a recap, big and boring, these are properties that have a high cost, that are in A neighborhoods, that, they're going to perform like A grade properties. They're going to, attract A grade tenants. What we're talking about with that is, these are people that make excellent income, they have excellent credit, they always pay on time, and if there's a problem, they're probably going to call you first and let you know. These are people that are dependable. They've got good jobs. Oftentimes they're executives. They're people that make great money, but for one reason or another, they just haven't bought a house. Very dependable, pay on time, something you don't even have to worry about as with your investment. They also are going to take good care of the property. They're not going to use it very roughly. Typically, they are going to have, one or two children if they have any kids at all. Okay, so again, A grade, big and boring. Second part here is our bread and butter neighborhoods. Bread and butter neighborhoods, again, recap, these are properties that are 3 or 4 bedroom, 1 to 2 bathroom. They are in areas that are traditionally rental, but also are in neighborhoods that are intermixed with owner occupants. These are going to be traditionally working class people. They make decent money. They've got decent credit. Now, what's decent look like? Somewhere between 620 and 700 on a credit score, maybe as low as 600 in some neighborhoods. But they're going to pay the rent most of the time, right? They're going to have an annual household income somewhere in the $50,000 to $60,000 range. Again, this is based on Philadelphia. It's going to change from region to region, but they're people that make decent money. Sometimes there are 2 income earners in the house. Other times, we've got 1 income earner with 1, 2, 3 kids, but they're very predictable. 95% of the time rent's getting paid. Might be a little late from time to time. If something comes up and they're unable to pay their rent, you might not hear from them. You might have to reach out to them. But most of the time, the properties are going to perform as anticipated, and they're going to be great cash flow. Okay. The next area, developing markets. So the cool thing about developing markets, in my opinion, is that you end up with a property in a neighborhood that is, let's say, C plus, B minus, maybe even as nice as like a B grade neighborhood. You're getting an A plus tenant. These are people that they're going to buy a house one day. They could buy now, but they're just not ready for it. A lot of times you're dealing with young professionals, somebody in their mid-20s that, they graduated, they have a good job, they're making a 6-figure income, and they're not sure quite yet what they're going to do with their life as far as settling down, moving on, and building a family. So these are people that they're worried about their credit. They pay their bills on time. They make enough money to afford the place. And at the end of the day, it ends up being a really great experience, because you've got a property that, as the market continues to develop, right, you're able to work with an A-class tenant throughout that process. Okay. And last but not least, are paper tigers. These are neighborhoods that look great on paper but perform very poorly. The reason they perform very poorly is because oftentimes they're in more rundown areas where you have vacant properties, you have a lot of properties that are not kept up to snuff, they're not in great condition, and the cost of the rentals is a little bit lower, but that's because that's what people can pay or can't pay in these properties. The tenants you're going to be looking for in these type of neighborhoods, or that you will get, there are some good tenants in these areas, but the vast majority of applicants that you're going to be dealing with are going to have difficulty documenting their income. Their credit's not going to be so great, and at the end of the day, they may or may not pay you. It's a lot more of a hands-on investment. You're going to have to be way more hands-on with these type of these type of tenants. Probably going to have to go and pick up the rent every month. If you're okay with it, hey, that's fine. But it's important to know what you're getting into when you're choosing an asset, especially for the first time. So that's it for today's video. Thanks so much for joining me. Again, these are the types of tenants that you can expect in different types of investment properties.